Picture treating Claude Code like an exhausted intern. You hand over a single task.
Right. Just one thing at a time.
You sit back and wait for an answer. Then you assign the very next piece.
Which is totally sequential.
Exactly. Doing this sequentially is a massive mistake. It's actually the fastest way to waste tokens.
Tokens are the basic units of data AI reads.
Every single prompt resends your previous history. You drain your context window completely dry.
And the context window is the AI's short-term memory limit.
You end up spending your entire afternoon just waiting for answers.
Well, welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're exploring the 6 power phrases of Claude Code efficiency.
A lot of developers think faster AI just requires better underlying models.
Yeah, or they assume they need to install more external plugins.
Or write incredibly complex prompts.
We operated under that exact same assumption initially, you know.
The real speed jump happens differently, though. It comes from building a highly structured system.
True speed is not about mashing the gas pedal.
It requires rethinking the architecture of your workflow.
That is exactly the shift we need. The secret really lies in using 6 specific phrases.
These phrases build a system that works in parallel.
Right, and it forces the AI to plan properly beforehand. It empowers the system to catch its own mistakes.
You stop working sequentially and start working systematically.
So let's jump in. We must change how we assign the workload.
Forcing one session to handle everything just breaks down.
That brings us to our first phrase. You want to say, launch subagents to handle this.
Launch subagents to handle this.
Exactly. This phrase unlocks the sheer power of parallel work.
Claude can theoretically spin up subagents by itself.
But it rarely uses them when it actually should. The main agent usually tries to do everything alone.
It forces heavy lifting into one single context window,
Which creates a massive bottleneck for complex projects.
It really grinds the whole process down.
Take code review as a very practical example. Don't ask for one vague general review.
You should launch 5 specific subagents instead.
Yeah. Agent 1 actively checks the code for bugs. Agent 2 looks exclusively for hidden security flaws.
Agent 3 searches for any underlying performance problems.
Right. Agent 4 reviews the final user experience flow. And Agent 5 flags any messy code.
It's like an assembly line instead of one person running around the factory.
Right. And they operate at the exact same time. Every single subagent gets its own specific task.
It gets isolated context and its own distinct permissions.
Claude eventually brings all those parallel results back together. You end up with a fundamentally cleaner review.
Every agent knows exactly what it is responsible for.
And it returns its findings ranked strictly by severity.
The crucial mistake here involves being far too vague.
Vague instructions will absolutely ruin the subagent process. You can't simply say, launch subagents to improve this.
That sounds convenient, but it gives Claude too much room.
The assigned tasks must be strictly independent.
What happens if their assigned resources heavily overlap during this process?
They basically trip over each other and waste valuable compute time. You must define what each agent should avoid doing.
Keep tasks strictly independent to prevent wasted compute?
Exactly.
Subagents act as our parallel workers here. But parallel workers without a blueprint just create faster chaos.
They definitely do. We need our second power phrase to fix that. Write me an implementation spec.
We have to force Claude to write the manual before the code.
This solves one of the biggest problems in AI coding. Claude simply cannot read your mind.
If you give it a vague build request, it guesses.
It guesses the file structure and the core logic.
It guesses the necessary tools and the edge cases.
Some of those guesses might actually be brilliant, but many will be slightly wrong or misaligned.
You waste hours fixing architectural decisions you never actually agreed to.
It is incredibly frustrating. Now, Claude Code does have a built-in plan mode.
You trigger it by hitting Shift+Tab.
Right. It helps you plan the immediate short-term work, but you cannot treat it as a comprehensive replacement.
You still need a very detailed, overarching implementation spec.
Consider Andrej Karpathy's specific workflow method here. He prefers writing detailed docs with the agent first.
You essentially write the manual before building anything.
People always want to skip that planning phase, though.
They want the AI to start coding immediately.
And then they get annoyed when the output fails. Let's break down the actual math of guessing.
Okay.
Imagine your upcoming project has 3 major steps. There are 5 possible ways to execute each step.
That gives Claude 5 times 5 times 5 choices.
Yep. 125 possible outcomes.
Whoa. Beat. Imagine 125 chaotic timelines shrinking to just one perfect execution.
That is the exact mechanism of a proper spec. You reduce the massive guessing game down to one intended build.
Claude now understands the intended structural truth.
It knows the preferred tools, the order, and the strict constraints.
This makes those subagents much more effective later.
Without a plan, they sprint in completely different directions.
With a spec, every agent works from the same foundation.
Your prompts need very specific details here. Tell Claude to break the build into clear steps.
Force it to highlight key decisions for each step.
Make it explain the complex trade-offs behind each decision. Demand asks what it needs from you before building.
Never let it start implementation until you explicitly approve the spec.
Right.
When does an implementation spec become entirely too detailed to use?
Well, if the spec takes longer to read than writing the code yourself, you definitely went too far.
Focus on key architectural decisions, not every single line.
Exactly.
Beat. A spec clearly fixes the AI's guessing problem. But what if you are the one guessing?
What do you mean?
What if you lack the technical details yourself?
That is exactly when you deploy power phrase number 3. You tell Claude, interview me.
Interview me. This phrase radically flips the entire workflow dynamic.
Claude stops acting like a passive builder for a moment.
It steps up and acts like a senior project lead.
You might know what you want at a high level, but you probably miss the crucial granular details.
The database choice, the user flow, the edge cases.
Right. The permission rules, the error states, the final review process.
These invisible details shape the final product entirely.
They really do.
I still wrestle with the blank page problem myself when starting out.
It's a very common hurdle. That's why this interview phrase matters so much.
Claude asks you the questions you may not know to ask.
It extracts the vision hiding in your head. Then it turns your scattered answers into a solid spec.
There are some very specific rules for this interview process, though.
Yeah, you must demand that Claude asks only one question at a time.
That is a critical constraint.
If Claude gives you 15 questions at once, the process fails.
You will inevitably rush through them and give weak answers.
Asking one question at a time creates a real dynamic conversation.
You might also want to use voice dictation tools here.
Speaking your complex answers often feels much easier than typing them.
Tools like Hex or WhisperFlow make this highly conversational.
It makes the whole architectural process feel much more natural.
There is a dangerous trap with this interview phrase, however.
Vague answers will ruin the final output entirely.
It's a huge trap. If Claude asks who the tool is for, don't just say, founders.
That is way too broad and vague. You need to be incredibly specific with your user constraints.
Say, solo founders who need to review daily customer feedback.
That small contextual difference changes the entire build direction.
Claude needs to help you actively narrow the idea down.
It should ask about the core problem we're actually solving.
This stops you from building random, unnecessary features.
It asks about the target user to drive specific product choices, and about the non-user to tightly prevent broad scopes.
What if I simply do not know the answer to Claude's interview question?
You just tell the AI to use its best judgment and explicitly justify the choice later.
Just hand the steering wheel back to Claude,
Yeah.
sponsor. Coming back to it, you have a solid spec.
You survived the interview.
The subagents built the code. But AI can be confidently wrong about its work. Beat.
It sounds incredibly confident even when the task is incomplete.
It might claim the new feature is totally finished.
Or it might state the database bug is completely fixed.
You test the application and realize something is clearly broken.
This creates an incredibly expensive mistake in AI coding workflows.
You lose trust and have to manually inspect everything anyway.
This risk is why we need power phrase number 4.
You must tell Claude, verify before you build.
This creates a vital automated feedback loop.
The engineer Boris Cherny points out something fascinating here.
A strong feedback loop improves model results massively. It can improve the final code quality by 2 to 3 times.
Make Claude explain its detailed verification plan before it touches code.
It must state clearly what actual success looks like.
And must list the exact diagnostic checks it will run.
It must name any external tool it needs to verify work.
Maybe it needs a browser to visually inspect a website layout.
Or maybe it needs a deployment MCP to confirm an app.
A deployment MCP is a tool that publishes your app to the internet.
Right. Maybe it needs linting to check recent code changes.
Linting refers to automated tools that flag basic code errors.
You add this crucial rule directly to your CLAUDE.md file.
CLAUDE.md is a file storing your project's AI rules.
This forces verification to happen on every single task.
Doesn't stopping to verify constantly slow down the magic of AI coding?
It might feel slightly slower at the very beginning, but fixing invisible architectural errors later is much, much slower.
You also need to heavily define your human validation zones.
Those zones are boundaries where the AI must stop.
Some parts of a project are safe for very fast movement.
A landing page color layout is usually very low risk. If Claude accidentally breaks a visual section, you fix it quickly.
But other specific parts need strict human approval.
The ultimate cost of an error is simply too high.
If Claude attempts to change underlying billing logic, you must intervene.
You cannot let it run freely with financial data.
The same strict rule applies to authentication and user permissions.
It heavily applies to production database schemas and security-sensitive files.
How should Claude react if a verification check actually fails during the build?
It should immediately halt the process, explain the failure clearly, and propose a specific fix.
It needs to hit the brakes and propose solutions.
Exactly.
Setting up these boundaries every single day gets exhausting, though. 2-sec silence.
Power phrase number 5 solves that tediousness entirely. Tell Claude, based on this conversation, build me a skill.
After a few days, you notice a very annoying pattern.
You keep asking Claude to do the exact same conceptual work.
You repeatedly ask it to review code in the same specific format.
You ask it to write implementation specs the same way.
You keep correcting its tone, file structure, or testing process.
A Claude skill is basically a set of reusable, targeted instructions.
Instead of explaining the long process every time, you package it.
You turn a highly successful conversation into something Claude can seamlessly repeat.
You are fundamentally altering its base behavior moving forward.
Exactly. But most developers think about these skills in the wrong way.
They try to invent abstract, complex skills completely from scratch.
They create something far too abstract and then never use it again.
The right way requires waiting patiently for real-world success.
You wait until you finish a highly successful organic workflow.
Then you ask Claude to package that exact proven process.
The biggest upgrade here is adding a dedicated gotcha section.
The gotchas are the small, annoying issues you discover later.
They cover strange edge cases, strict style rules, or frequently repeated mistakes.
Unclear instructions or minor fixes you explained more than once.
You update the custom skill to remember these exact contextual issues.
For example, always double-check auth logic before editing user permissions.
Or perhaps never use inline styles. Always use Tailwind CSS classes.
How many of these custom skills are too many for one single project?
If you spend more time searching for the right skill than working, you definitely have too many.
Only keep skills that actively save you time. With your custom skills saved, putting everything on autopilot sounds very tempting.
It does.
But that introduces brand new risks to the system. Beat.
This brings us to the 6th and final power phrase, automate this.
People get extremely excited about this specific phrase way too early.
It sounds powerful because nobody wants to repeat boring manual work.
But automation with Claude Code creates a brand new systemic problem.
If the underlying output is slightly wrong, you produce bad work faster.
Before you automate anything, decide if it truly needs full automation.
It might only need a simple augmentation layer instead.
Automation means Claude handles the entire process with zero human input.
Augmentation means Claude does the heavy lifting, but you still review the result.
There are 2 critical filters to use before automating any task.
The first one is called the taste test.
Does the task need human judgment or specific brand sense?
Writing final sales copy absolutely needs real human taste.
Making nuanced product decisions needs taste. Handling sensitive customer complaints needs taste.
You should strictly augment these complex tasks.
But what if the task is strictly measurable with clear binary rules?
Checking if 100 website links are broken is totally measurable.
Creating simple daily summaries or running basic unit tests is measurable.
Sorting simple IP support tickets is measurable. You can safely, fully automate these repetitive tasks.
The second critical filter is the 80-20 output check.
If the final output was only 80% good, would you survive?
If the answer is yes, full automation may be perfectly fine.
If the answer is no, you must keep a human in the loop.
I have to push back on that framework a bit. Isn't settling for 80% defeating the purpose of a high-end AI tool?
Not necessarily, because context dictates the value of the output.
Right.
Getting 80% accuracy on 100 broken links saves you hours of tedious time.
You can easily fix the remaining 20% manually.
But an 80% success rate on a checkout sales page, that missing 20% loses you actual revenue.
Never fully automate changing payment gateways or deep security logic.
You must also be incredibly careful with things like hooks.
Hooks are automated triggers that run code in the background.
A bad one-time output is slightly annoying.
A bad scheduled workflow can keep running and creating endless systemic problems. How do we safely combine full automation with our parallel subagents?
Have one subagent thoroughly design the automation workflow and another explicitly hunt for potential failure cases.
Use one agent to build, another to test limits,
Yep.
two sec silence. We need to step back and look at the big picture here.
Speed in AI is not about mashing the gas pedal on simple prompts.
It really is not. It is about building a highly structured parallel system.
You use independent subagents when you need deep parallel work.
You write a strict implementation spec before building anything at all.
You let Claude interview you when the core idea is still unclear.
You build a secure system that verifies its own output safely.
It learns from past conversational successes by building custom skills.
It respects human judgment and understands strict operational boundaries.
You actively choose thoughtful augmentation over blind automation when taste truly matters.
Used properly together, these 6 phrases give you a much cleaner way to build.
The process becomes faster, highly structured, and requires far fewer messy fixes later.
We want you to pick just one of these power phrases today.
Try implementing it in your very next Claude Code session.
I highly recommend starting with the interview me script flip.
It immediately changes how you interact with the underlying model.
Try flipping the script today. And consider this final thought as we wrap up.
Yeah.
If Claude Code is fully capable of interviewing you, if it can actively plan the entire architectural build,
If it can assign its own parallel subagents to execute tasks,
if it can rigorously verify its own work against your rules,
at what point do you stop being the coder and officially become the CEO of your own digital agency? Outro music.